Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, before I get into this, first thing I gotta mention is that kinda sorry about how slow and late some of the videos have been. It's because I'm pretty much been busy. In fact, if you're even looking at my ranking place on the Union event right now, I've ranked like well into 4 digits. I usually don't even do that badly. But mainly it's because I've been busy a lot lately and I haven't been able to do much crap, so unfortunately that's of course going to get in the way of recording and even playing different games and whatnot, but I am still trying to manage. Now, speaking of the Union event thing, they did change the rankings a little bit. I still think they're crap, because again, why is it still so restricted for some of the higher amounts of rewards? You know that only the botters are really going to get that type of stuff, but again, it at this point it is what it is, because if you want my honest opinion, I don't think the Nutaku devs or whoever runs this side clearly know what they're doing. We've had issues that's been there for a long time, and this is yet another issue that's popped up. And as much as they try to base it on the player base, it still doesn't change the fact that the smaller the brackets, the harder it is to get into, especially considering the fact that there are people that do use outside programs to play this game, which is considered cheating. So that's a problem. And even then, the Union one is even worse because it says like one top 1 to 4. It's just it's a mess. That's all I gotta say. It's just a mess. I did manage to get my first trade for the SSR break limit item though, so eventually you can still get the stuff. It's just a lot harder to do so because the ranks are so tight for no apparent reason. But anyways, what this video is actually about. We have another event popping up, and it's going to be a water event. So Thunder is going to have the advantage, and it's also the element you want to do the heroic quest with. This is a raid event, so of course, start your own raids, get some help with it, jump into other people's raids, whatever you need to do to get as many rewards as you can. These are very good events in order to try and overfarm because of the fact that you can still get magic jewels. The biggest thing is definitely the +1 weapons and the ones. They pop up pretty frequently in these. Possibly the most frequent place to actually get them. There's other stuff too, like season elixirs if you want to refill your AP and BP. There's a pretty decent rate at getting SSR items as well from this, like the weapons and add-ons. So if you want to try and get extra of that, feel free to do so. It's probably the easiest event to overfarm. And also, as a side note too, is that you do want to try and get the SSR ticket guarantees of 1/10 tickets. That takes a lot of farming to do. It's not impossible, but it is going to be a moment. Remember, this is basically the best way to get guaranteed SSR pools right now, outside of paying money. Because you would need essentially 10 Dragonic Eyes in order to do the same thing. And those Dragonic Eyes are better used for other stuff. There's some pretty decent Awakenings that's already been in the game. There's some decent Awakenings that's going to be on the way. You need the Eyes to get some other stuff like the 4th tier Souls. Or the 50 Dragonic Eye weapons are very, very good. You need your Eyes for other stuff. So it essentially just consider free players to have only this method to get SSR guaranteed pools. Unless you happen to have an event where they give you one, and we haven't really had that outside of the All-Star event, which wasn't even originally planned. So again, grind out those SSR guaranteed tickets. They help out a lot. We even got a bunch of them for free pools, so you should be pretty close to one, if not already having one. But anyways, as this is a raid event, go through different storylines, do the fight. Then you'll unlock the the actual battles. They don't even have the HP for this storyline battle for the event, but you don't really need it because honestly, those enemies are pretty weak. I don't even think they have like sometimes they won't even have 6-digit HP. They'll have like 5 digits. So that's just saying how low they are. The issue is if you're trying to get into heroic because you need to be rank 100 if you want to even take a shot at it. Ragnarok Plus, rank 51 is pretty easy to get to, so don't worry about it too much. And the other ones, don't even worry about the rank requirements because you'll get there very, very quickly. Like, less than an hour. If done right, you can get into rank 51 within a few hours if you're a new player. So that said, it would be accessible in order to get, I'd say, a decent amount of souls to grind out for the event. Heroic is completely optional. If you can't do it now, they have heroic record later on. So again, you'll get another shot at it. But this event's mechanics is a little bit different than some of the stuff we've seen before. So the biggest gimmick with this is that the boss has the ability to extend the cooldowns of your abilities. What that means is that even if it is off cooldown, it will gain 1 turn wait time. So that said, you do want to try and deal with that as much as possible. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's a debuff or just a direct increase, but pay very close attention to when it does it, and it loves trying to do it in raging, so the more you keep it out of raging, the better for that case. Now, it is AoE with the triggers, and it happens 3 times throughout the fight. 75% HP, 50% HP, and 25%. So, pay very close attention to those HP intervals. There's a percentage bar in the game that tells you all this type of stuff anyway. There's literally no excuse to not know it's coming. As for normal mode, it will up its combo rate as well as randomly hit 5 times. If this hits one character, it could do a lot of damage. So if you're going to try and tank this thing, some AoE cuts can help, or a character that can cover for everybody else. And Thunder does have some pretty tanky options too, so you should be able to withstand the damage. Now, Expert has 5 million HP, Ragnarok has 15 million, and then Ragnarok Plus is 72 million. That is literally the only difference between the fights, the HP values. So, that said, pay attention to the percentage intervals and you should be fine. Just remember, you will take a lot of damage if you're not debuffing its attack power or having damage cuts or anything like that. You can get hit pretty hard. Again, Thunder is pretty tanky. You just need to use the right characters for it. So remember that. Also, something to help with trying to get it out of raging as quickly as possible. They even say Jupiter because she's got a mode gauge reduction effect. You may or may not want to consider that for your soul as well. There's a soul called Gilgamesh that actually has that ability where it directly drains the rage bar. There's a few times where it's useful. This could be one of those times. Now then, as for heroic, this is where things get very, very interesting. Now, I don't know what the raging or the normal attacks are because they're not listed here for stage 2. But in stage 1, be very, very careful in this fight because there is 6 orbs, or supposedly 6 turns before it will use its enemy burst. If that happens, it's a fail because it will put doom on your entire party. That debuff that instantly kills you when the turn count's gone, it will put that on the entire party. To make sure it even lands, it will remove all your buffs. On top of that, it has 0 turns, meaning this is going to go off immediately. So, How do you deal with this? You either A, kill it before it does that within the 6 turns, or B, you have to land 12 hits or more in one set of normal attacks or use a full burst. If you do that, then it will reduce its charge turns by 3. And also, every turn that's a multiple of 2, it will randomly nuke 5 times, so be careful of that. But it has 100,000 HP. I mean, not 100,000, 100 million HP. Now, the second part of the fight is the boss herself. 150 million HP. The very first time the fight even starts, she's going to extend your abilities, so expect that to happen. Now, whenever you end up bursting with 3 or more characters, it's going to have the ability extension as well. However, there's something called Administrator of Time, which there isn't too much info on this wiki page for some reason. I'm sorry about that. I can't do anything about it. But it's definitely something you want to avoid. So if you do 3 or more bursts in the same turn, you can avoid this. Also, just like the previous fights, 75%, 50%, and 25% HP is going to try and extend your ability cooldown, so pay close attention to that. It says it will almost always be in raging mode too, so that said, you probably have a hard time keeping it out of raging. So going by its previous mechanics from other fights, assume that raging mode is going to be the one where it will keep trying to extend your ability cooldown. So end the fight as quickly as you can. Simple as that. It goes without saying that since bursts really help you out here, Yori's a very great pick. Also, Paracelsus, or it's hard to pronounce her name, whoever the normal attack one is, very good for this fight as well. It goes without saying those two will be very, very useful because the first one is based on combo rate or burst, and the second one's based on burst anyway. However, the more hits you're doing, the faster your burst gauge fills anyways. So it's going to help in both fights. Now, recommended characters for this. Easily. Raiko. You're going to want some protection. Marduk is very good for this. Dion Set's very good for this. Anshar's very good for this. You're going to want different stuff to really help you out. Like manipulating orb count, increasing combo rate, definitely having some heals, and Dion Set's like easily one of the best healers in the game. Having different types of protection and increasing your burst gauge and whatnot, really going to help. Those 4, without a doubt, are easily the best team for this. If you have Yori, even better. Paracelsus can still be pretty good as well. I would say she's not as good as Yori, but it depends on it really depends on who you have, because honestly, you have the other 4s, and Paracelsus could definitely be very good if you have those 4 Hime. If you are missing a few, then Yori probably will lean out to be better. The thing is, though, Yori is easier to use than Paracel, if you want my honest opinion. So either one still works, but again, just make sure you have certain characters that can sit up and do that. Absolutely bring some damage cut and some healing. That's where Raiko comes in, and that's where Dion Set comes in. Now, if you don't have them, there's still other healing options and whatnot you can look at. Generally in the SR Hime section, it's still doable with SR Hime. If I remember correctly, there's also a Thunder one that does help you tank a little bit in there as well. I just don't remember their name. But if you have any orb manipulation where you like remove the charge counts from enemies, that helps out a lot, especially in the first fight. use what you can in order to try and get past these mechanics, because while it's not tricky, it could be a little bit tedious, especially considering the fact that you essentially have 7 turns if things go wrong in the first fight. If you can't end it in 7 turns, you're just screwed. So be wary of that. And there is no protection against it either. Since it removes all your buffs, don't even think about using ailment protection. It will just kill everything and then kill you. Now, of course, I mentioned the rewards and all that too. There's also magic jewels and gacha tickets as you go through the reward list, but if you're doing what I suggested anyway, you'll get all the rewards. That will be 300 Divine and 300 Devil Souls anyway. Probably more if you want to overfarm and get some extra +1 stuff and whatnot. So that's something to know. Speaking of the stuff to get here, like I said, I generally ignore the SR weapons because SSR is pretty frequent. Usually comes with 2 skills on SSR now. But I should feel a need to mention that the Thunder SR weapon does come with Assault and Barrage. Barrage has gotten a little bit better lately, and if you somehow have any sort of like technical weapons for Thunder, Barrage definitely helps out a lot with that one too. So while I wouldn't save this SR weapon, it may end up having some slight use depending on what you have and how early you are in the game. Of course, go for the better stuff, but again, Assault plus Barrage actually is a pretty good combo now, especially since they buffed it. So that's something to know. However, the real meat of this is easily the Water Arcane SSR. That one is going to give you large assault, small defender, very good start until you start getting final limit break weapons. And then on top of that too, if Assault bursts with it, it's going to increase their combo rate. So there's not too many souls that can actually use that, but hey, more combo rate for the soul. They're usually the ones that have the least combo rate when everything's all said and done. So that's something to know. Excuse me. So there's also the Eidolon that will buff your combo rate as well. That can help you out, so that automatically makes her a decent sub slot. Her attack power isn't as high as some of the other Eidolons we've previously seen. Her HP is pretty up there though, but the stats are still good. The most interesting thing about this though, when you set her in main slot, you get 40% elemental attack for water, and also 20% burst gauge increase. Which means if you do a normal attack, it's instead giving you 12 burst gauge instead of 10. This adds up. So, in my opinion, these are some of the better free-to-play Eidolons to get, because it's giving you elemental as well as a faster burst gauge increase. They are by far not the best Eidolons in the game. But when it comes to the free Eidolons, they definitely can be, because of the burst gauge increase. Because if you keep this in mind, that's 36 burst gauge should you triple attack. And if you've actually gone through accessory quest and got a double set and do the same thing, that is 46 burst gauge. That's almost half a full burst in one turn, just from this Eidolon. And if you do decide to pick up a friend one as well, you just gave yourself more burst gauge anyway, because instead of 36, that triple attack would instead give you 42. And the double accessory set would make it 52. Which literally means you can get a full burst going in like roughly 2 turns if done right. So there are definitely mechanics in order to really speed up your burst gauge fill rate, but that's if you choose to use them. This is definitely one of those options to use them, because you're still getting elemental attack, but you're also getting burst gauge increase. So something to consider. Again, they're still better than her. The 100% Eidolons, Guardian Eidolons are still better. They're still... I would love to say the Machine Beast, but they're kind of hard to build up too. Because in order to even maximize them, you need to be able to do Guardian Plus raids. But There's better add-ons, but this is still one of the really good ones. So, in my honest suggestion, use her in main slot until you get something better, and then keep her in your sub slots. Because again, the combo rate buff, and combo rate's becoming a lot more prominent. I mean, it should have been to begin with. I mean, the more hits you do, the more damage you're dealing, as well as getting more burst gauge. So, it should have been more prominent. But with a lot more access to technical weapons, and then especially later on when we start getting the malicious raids, combo rate's going to have a lot more focus as well. So, characters that can buff it, as well as add-ons that can do so, weapons that come with barrage, not rush, because you want to triple attack more than double attack. A lot of this stuff will get some good use. So, something to really consider. Last but not least, the raid missions are generally the same now at this point. Start a raid 3 times. Go help somebody 5 times. Like, go into different raids and do it 5 times. Clear Expert with Kamihime. Clear Ragnarok Plus alone. You still have to clear all the difficulties alone, but Expert, Kamihime, and alone. Ragnarok Plus, just clear it however you can alone. Ragnarok, clear with a win team, but still be alone. And you just get all your extra stuff off of that. If you have a very good Thunder team, Ragnarok Plus should not give you too much trouble. The 4 that was mentioned, Anshar, Dionset, Marduk, and Raiko, go extremely well together. So if you have those 4, I'm honestly expecting you to be able to clear Heroic should you have a strong enough weapon grid. And there's been full guns in the game for a long time. If you had those 4 characters, you should have been grinding towards the Thunder Guardian and getting those guns, because they are easily some of the best free-to-play weapons in the game. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon. I do believe I'm able to clear this because I do have 3 out of those 4. And I do have the aforementioned full gun grid, so I should be able to handle this. We'll see. The only issue would probably be base stats, but I can fix that pretty quickly. So there's that. I should be able to clear this heroic though. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon, and again, I've been working lately and doing some other stuff, so if videos seem like they're not coming out all that quickly, I apologize for that, but there's not too much I can do. Real life comes first, of course, but still expect videos, because that's something that's not going to stop unless either my account dies or the game itself does. So, there's that. And even then, I still have JP sad as well. But anyways, that's all for now, guys. More will come soon, and take care.